For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to the amendment.
Recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I express my appreciation to the gentleman for bringing forth a concept that could provide relief, but not for many years. This is an amendment to a bill that talks about an immediate reduction in food prices. But this is kind of a long-term investment, and I appreciate that concept. But it's not what this bill says. It really doesn't contribute to the immediate relief for American consumers or reducing input costs for our farmers in the immediate or near term. Working together is how the House Committee on Agriculture solves problems. And the committee has been working together with the department to better understand this amendment, its purpose, and its implications. Now, my colleagues, the department and I have agreed that this is not a near-term solution to the high price and limited availability of fertilizer. As the gentleman knows, this amendment was pulled from the consideration by my Democratic colleagues in the recent committee markup. Unfortunately, we have not learned much since then, which furthers my opposition to it. Growing the size of government by codifying the Biden administration's half-baked initiatives and authorizing $100 million and specifying further use of the Commodity Credit Corporation and minimally funded research programs is no way to tackle rising inflation, or to address skyrocketing fertilizer costs. In fact, it leaves us in a rather more tenuous situation when it comes to our farmers. The Commodity Credit Corporation is what we use and what we depend on and rely on when our farmers fall on difficult times. And they're there, these input costs. And I know that we see, not in all commodities, but in most commodities, we see a record price that they're getting for their commodity. But the fact is that agriculture is a business, farming's a business, ranching's a business. And at the end of the day, it's the margin. So it's not what you get paid. You have to consider what you're paying in input costs. And with this inflation, with these types of policies we're talking about today, that inflation, there'll be many commodities soon that will be upside down. They'll have more expensive to produce than what they're able to get for price. There's commodities that are already at that point. And draining the CCC of any year in 2022 is not only wrong, it's dangerous. We're not going to have the resources to be able to help our farmers, to keep them farming, and to use the CC for what its primary purpose and mission was about. So even more perplexing is the idea we would want to solidify in law concepts that USDA admittedly has not developed into programming or policy, as the public comment period was just extended yet again. Now, we would have been better served by considering Republican amendments, all of which would have provided immediate relief through reversing the regulatory assault, stifling the innovation, and exacerbating strained supply chains. Now, I ask my colleagues to join me in opposing this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respect the ranking member. We've worked together on a number of initiatives. I would just say that this amendment, by giving the credit corporation resources, is helping make things in America. Whether it is immediate or whether it's over the next few months, we should have a bipartisan consensus that we ought to be making more things in this country and be less dependent on Russia and foreign sources. And while I urge a yes vote on this amendment, I also hope that we can continue to work with the other side to find common ground over this Congress so that we can get bipartisan support for an effort to build more fertilizer in the United States.
Gentleman,
I yield.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say the gentleman offered an amendment as a good friend. We do work together. Another area of jurisdiction on the Agriculture Committee that shocks people actually is cryptocurrency, because it is a commodity and traded and overseen by CFTC. And he has been such a great partner as we've worked together with those solutions. So the whole concept of bipartisan work, that is alive and well in the Agriculture Committee, but just not reflected with this poison pill that's in this particular piece of legislation. And with this amendment, I think this, as I said before, we need to be looking long term. But this legislation we're dealing with today, according to the Democrats, is supposed to have an immediate reduction in inflation. where I believe we do need to do an investment long-term and look at other methods of producing fertilizer. This doesn't really fit with reducing prices for American families today. And to do it and do it right, we really do need USDA on board. They need to be we need to have their input. We need to have their ability to do this through their programming. And so this is something I look forward to continuing to work with you on. And with that, I continue to voice my opposition to this amendment, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.